going to show you how to make this bracelet I'm calling the Beautiful Bracelet, because I have no name for it whatsoever. So that way we can just call it Gina's Beautiful Bracelet, and it'll just sound like I'm always making beautiful bracelets. Anyway, I'm going to show you what this looks like. Okay, I had to go off camera to get it off so that I could move my hand out so that my other hand could get to it. Anyway, this is what it looks like. And this is just some components I made up, and then I embellished the outside, and then I went on the inside and embellished. So it's several steps, but it turns out really pretty. And let's go ahead and look at what we're going to need to make this bracelet. Okay, for this project today, you're going to need 6mm bicone crystals. I am using a Swarovski, and it is a clear. You will also need 8O seed beads and 11O seed beads. Both of mine are Toho. My 8O is an AB crystal, and my 11O is an AB crystal silver lined. Then you will need 4mm bicone crystals. I got my super duos mixed in. And mine is a turquoise AA. Then you will need super duos. And this is a blue turquoise luster. Then we will be using a button to clasp it. This is just a button with 2 holes on the top. It's kind of a little crystal with silver backing on it. Little button. You can find these all over the place, Walmart, probably online. Just a little crystal button. And we'll be using that. We will use a size 10 beading needle and several yards of fire line. You will use 1 arm length of fire line per unit. We will be making 5 units. On the last unit, you will use a wingspan. So what I mean is, for your first 4 units, you will measure your thread from your fingertip to your arm, to your shoulder, excuse me. And then you will tie it off. That's for your first 4 units. For your last unit, you will use a wingspan, which is your entire span of both arms straight out side to side, including your torso. And you will use that for the 5th unit. So go ahead and thread onto your beading needle 1 arm length of 8-pound fire line, and we will get started with our first unit. So after you've threaded your needle with 1 arm's length of fire line, you'll pick up a 6mm bicone crystal and 3 super duos, and then another 6mm bicone crystal and 3 more super duos, like this. And you will bring it to the end of your thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, just enough to tie a knot, and we're going to tie a knot between the beads, like so. And then we're going to sew back through all of these beads. Let me get a little closer. And we'll just start sewing. I'm coming out right here. This is where my knot is. So I'm just going to go up the bicone, and then I'll go through all of the super duos. Sometimes you have to do them one at a time because that's how super duos are. But if you can get through them all, great. I'm just going to keep sewing all the way around until I get past my knot, and then go back into the first bicone crystal. Right here. Like this. This is what you should have. Now you will pick up an 8O seed bead, and you are coming out of the bicone right here. You're going to go up into the top hole of the first super duo and pull. And then you will pick up a super duo and place it between the super duos in the top hole here. Just like that. Then pick up 1 more super duo and place it between the next 2 super duos in the top hole. Just like that. That's what you should have. Now you're coming out of the super duo here. You will pick up an 8O seed bead, go down into the crystal and through it, and pull tight. You want good tension so that your little 8O seed beads lay at an angle right between your super duos and your bicone crystal. Then pick up another 8-0, go up through the next super duo in the top hole. And then, again, place super duos between the super duos. So I'm coming out of this hole, I'm going to go into the next super duo. And then pick up another super duo and put it between the super duos. And now I'm coming out of the super duo here. I need to pick up an 8-0 seed bead and go down into my bicone crystal and pull it tight. And this is what you should have. Now we're going to go up into the 8-0 that we're right next to, and we're going to pick up a 4mm bicone crystal, and we are going to go into the top hole of the next super duo and pull it tight. Don't pull it too tight. It will be kind of strange and thready, but as we move along, that won't happen much more. It'll tighten it all up. So then you will pick up 2 super duos and you will go between the super duos like this. And then pick up a 4mm bicone crystal. You're coming out here, you're going to go into the 8-0 seed bead right here, like this. And you do want to tighten it, but like I said, it'll kind of push itself together as we do this too. Now you're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead. We need to travel from this side to this side, and so what we're going to do is we're going to pick up an 11-0, then we're going to pick up 3 super duos, and then an 11-0 seed bead, like this. We're going to go from this 8-0 to this 8-0 and bring the super duos and the 11-0s down. That's what that should look like. Now you're coming out of the 8-0 seed bead, pick up a 4mm bicone crystal and go into the top super duo like this, and then pick up 2 super duos. Go from super duo to super duo in the top holes, just like that. Now we're coming out of this super duo here. We're going to pick up a bicone crystal, go down into the 8-0 seed bead and pull. Arrange everything as you're doing it to make sure that everything's nice and neat, and then pick up an 11-0 seed bead. We need to travel from here to here again, so we'll pick up an 11-0, 3 super duo seed or beads, and an 11-0 like this. We're coming out of this 8-0, we're going to go into this 8-0 here and pull these down. And then we're going to pop up into this bicone crystal right here. At this point, I'm just going to cut my tail off the back. I left a little bit so I can burn it down in a few minutes. So now we're coming out of this bicone crystal here. We need to sew over to the next bicone crystal. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through this super duo here, this one, and this one, and come back to our bicone. So we'll be working in the bottom holes, the top hole of the first one and the bottom holes of the 2 next to it. Sometimes you're going to have to go one at a time to get through them. So just sew through them. And pull through, just like that. Now come up through the bicone crystal and then pick up another bicone crystal and go into the next super duo. Just like that. That's what that should look like. Pull it all together. Then pick up a bicone crystal and go into the next or not a bicone, and pick up a super duo and go into the next super duo. Pick up another super duo and then go into the next super duo again. And that's what you have. Now you're coming out of the super duo here. You're going to pick up a bicone crystal, go into the next bicone crystal, and then you're going to sew through all of the super duos. So you'll go into the bottom hole here, or the top hole here, the bottom hole here, the bottom hole here, and you'll work your way all the way around to the next bicone crystal here. So just go through all the super duos, just like this, up through the bicone crystal, like this, pick up another bicone, and then go into the top hole of the next super duo. Pull everything down, like that. Then you will pick up a super duo and go through the next super duo, pick up another super duo, go through the next super duo, and then you're in position to add your next bicone crystal. So pick it up and just go into the next bicone, just like this. Pull it down. This is what you should have. Now we're going to work our way around the top, but we got to get up there. So we're going to pick up two 11-0 seed beads, like this. We're going to go into the top hole of the super duo. Then we'll pick up a bicone crystal. We're coming out of this super duo, we'll go into the next super duo and pop him down in there. And it takes a little arranging. The first one doesn't want to fit very well, but it will as you sew through. Now you need to pick up two 11-0 seed beads. We'll sew down through the two bicone crystals. So just take them one at a time, it's a little easier. They're at enough of an angle that you should be able to get through them individually pretty easily, just like this. And then pick up two more 11-0 seed beads. And then you're coming out of the crystal, go up into the top hole of the next bicone, just like this. And then you will pick up a 4mm bicone crystal here and go into the next super duo. Pull it tight. And then pick up two 11-0 seed beads. You're coming out here, go down into the next bicone crystal here, and then sew through the one after it. Pick up two 11-0 seed beads. Come through the top of the bicone, or of the super duo. I don't know why I want those to be bicones today. And then pick up a 4mm bicone crystal, pop it between the two super duos, pick up two 11-0 seed beads, come down through the next bicone crystal and the one after it, like so. Then pick up two more 11-0 seed beads, come up into the top hole of the super duo, pick up a 4mm bicone crystal, go into the next super duo, like so. And then we need to finish our last connection here, so let's pick up two 11-0 seed beads, come up through the bicone crystal, come up through the next bicone crystal and the 11-0s, and then grab right here on the thread bridge, if you can get underneath it here, let's grab a half hitch knot. Now my tail is going to, or my extra thread is going to be in the way here. There we go. So I have a little knot there. Then I'm going to come up through this super duo here, if I can, and then through this bicone, and then through the next super duo. It's kind of straightening out and securing my very first super duo, or now I want to call the bicone super duos, the bicone I put on because it was kind of at a funny angle, so I'm straightening that out as I'm sewing through. And all I'm really trying to do is just secure this so I can tie it off and make sure that when I use my component, it's not going to fall apart. So I'm just going to secure it a little bit here, and then I will try to grab another half hitch knot here. And I'll go up through these two 11-0s. And then I'm just going to cut my thread off. And I will sear down the little bits that I leave sticking up with my lighter. So I'm just going to sear that down, and then on the wherever my tail is, I don't see it, there it is, I will melt it down, hide it, and then I have my first component made. Let's just see what it looks like. It's like that. Now you are going to make 4 more of these, and on your very last one you will not tie off, just secure it. You can tie it, but secure it. Don't cut your thread off. Leave your thread long. On your very last unit you will use a full wingspan of thread, which means from fingertip to fingertip with both your arms spread way out, and it will include both your arm lengths and your torso in the length. And leave all that on so that we can combine, or so that we can connect all of our units. So we have 1, we need 5. Let's see you back here.
Okay, so I have made my 5 units, and on my very last one
I have left a very long thread. Like I said, start with a full wingspan when you make your last unit. You can tie and secure it and then sew all the way up until you get to one of the shorter little arms. You'll see there's 3 rows of super duos on 2 arms, and then there's 2 rows of super duos on 2 arms. So one of the arms that have the shorter rows of super duos is where you want to exit the bicone crystal. So you sew around. I sewed this way until I exited this bicone crystal after I tied on my last unit here, because you want to secure your unit. Now you've got to be careful when you're tying your units off and melting down the threads not to block any of these outside beads, because we're going to sew through them several times as we're doing our embellishments. So be careful not to block them. Now I'm coming out of this one here. I'm going to join 2 units together here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pick up a 6mm bicone crystal like this, and I'm coming out of this bicone right here. I'm going to pick up another unit, and I'm going to go into the same bicone on the next unit. So I'm going to pick a short armed side. You want the long peaks to be on the top and bottom of your bracelet. You want to join the shorter ones. So now we're going to come from this bead, pick up a 6mm bicone crystal like this, and we're going to pull them together like this. Get just a little bit closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And then let's pick up another bicone, the 6mm, and come up through the first bicone we started with right here. So come up through the opposite side, and just the bicone, try to avoid the super duo on the other side like this, and pull
pull them together to where you don't see any thread between them, or you'll see a tiny bit, but not much. Now, of course, it's wobbly, so we need to secure this, and it's the joint of our bracelet, so we want to secure it pretty well to make sure that, my thread is tangling and everything, sorry guys, to make sure that our bracelet is very secure. So, I'm coming out here, I'm going to sew back into the next bead, I'm going to sew into the 6mm, and then into the 4mm on the
Unit itself.
and then back this way. So I'm just sewing around the 4 beads, securing them, making sure there's no slack between them. As I sew, I can pull it out, because when you very first start, it's gonna kind of loosen up and show a little bit of thread. So as you make your way around, you should be able to prevent that. So we're going to sew around twice, just to make sure everything is incredibly secure. Just like that. Okay, so now I need to get back into my unit so I can sew over to the next one. So I'm going to sew up this bicone here, and then I'm going to sew down into the bicone on the unit and go ahead and go through the super duo also, if I can. It wanted to do it all the time, but now it won't. So I'm going through the super duo and the 11-0, that's fine. Pull through, and then I'm going to sew into this 11-0. So, and then the crystal if I can, which I can't, but what I'm going to do is just sew all the way around until I get to this bead here so I can connect my next unit. So I'm just going to sew through here. And this is why I say be careful when you're doing your knotting so that you don't block off any of your beads, because I was showing on film the knot between the outside beads, which you can do. It's fine. Just be careful not to leave a big blob of fire line that you melted down inside one of the beads or something. And if you kind of mess your beads up, just straighten them up as you pull through. And just keep going till we get all the way to the end here. And come up through your 4mm. It's like that. I'm going to turn it this way just so that it's accessible to my right hand. And then I'm going to pick up a 6mm bicone crystal. I'm going to grab another one of my units, making sure I'm using the short arm. And I'm going to attach. I'm coming out of here. I picked up my bead. I'm going to go into here. Lay it out. Pick up another 6mm. Come down through, and then I'm going to secure these very well. And then we're going to do that with all 5 of our units. So after you secure these, sew through them twice, all the way around. Sew through your unit, come to the next one, join it together the same way, and do that until you have joined all of your units, and we'll be back. Now, 5 units may be a little long for some of you. Some of you may be just doing 4 units. But however many units you have, then go ahead and join them, and we'll be back after we're done.
Okay, so I have joined all 5 of my units. Now, just like this, as it stands, this is already 7 inches. So my bracelet is going to be fairly long. So if you want to shorten your bracelet, you can make 4 units, and then you can just put an extra unit of right angle weave on either side. What I mean by that is, instead of making your connection to your next unit, what you will do is you will come out of your bicone crystal, you will add a 6mm bicone, a 4mm bicone, a 6mm bicone, and then go back into your crystal on your unit and sew through that several times. And you will do that on both ends. That will give you a little bit of extension for length and make your bracelet, 6 inches. Not quite 6 inches. Probably right around, close to it. But anyway, you can adjust it that way. You can also make 2 of the units. So if you need even a little bit more length, you can do 2 of your units on the outside here. That's fine too. And or you can make 4 units and you can just come directly out of your bicone like I'm going to do on this one to add your clasping. There's several ways to adjust your length. So just remember, this is already 7 inches, so mine's going to be 7.5, 8-inch bracelet. If you can't wear that, if that's too huge, then you're going to have to adjust the length. So I'm coming out of this 4mm bicone on my unit, and I'm going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead, and then my button, and I'm going to go through the bottom of my button here. Now you can do this with 11/0s, but the holes in my button are too big, and the 11/0 wants to fall through the button, so it's difficult for me to sew it. So I'm just going to use an 8/0 on the bottom. Then I'm going to pick up 2 11/0s on the top, and I'm going to, when I go through the other hole, I'll draw these 11/0s down, and they will give me something to sew through so that you will not see my thread on top of my crystal button here. So I'm going like this, and then I'm going to go back down through the button like this, and then I'm going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead, and I'm going to go into the opposite side of the crystal under the button here like this, and pull it down. And this is what this should look like. Now I am just going to sew back through all of this several times. So I'll sew back through my 8/0, I'll come up through my bead or my button, then I'll go through the 2 11/0s on top of my button, which they blend in really well and they're hard to see, and pull through. Then go back down through my button and my 8/0 and back down through the crystal. And I'm going to do this several times until I feel like it's pretty secure, because this part is going to get pulled on a lot, so we need to make sure that it's really strong. So go ahead and sew through that several times. Arrange your buttons on top. You may need to do something with your 11/0s, maybe. It depends on the button you have, because my 11/0s want to fall through. But once I get through it a few times, I should be able to secure them. Okay, so I have sewn through and secured my button. I decided just to put one 11/0 on top. It just kind of disguises the thread a little. You still see a little. But my 11/0s are pulling down into the holes of my beads of my button because the holes are so big. I decided that that just wasn't going to work. So anyway, I've sewn through. I have my little 11/0 on top. I'm coming out of my 4mm bicone crystal in my bracelet. And now I'm just going to sew until I can get to this bead on the outside of my bracelet. So I'm coming out of this side here. I'm going to go down into my Super Duo and just basically just follow all the beads down, just like we had been doing when we were joining the units together. So just bring them all the way back down until you get to the bicone crystal at the top of the unit here. Just like this. And then come through the bicone crystal right here. We're going to start embellishments on the side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 4 11/0 seed beads, and then I'm going to pick up a bicone crystal, a 4mm. Then I'm going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads and a 6mm bicone crystal,
and then 3 11-0 seed beads, and a 4mm bicone crystal, and then 4 11-0 seed beads. And I'll show you what I've got on here, just in case that was confusing. I don't know. Okay, so what I did was I picked up 4 11-0 seed beads, a 4mm bicone crystal, 3 11-0 seed beads, a 6mm bicone crystal, 3 11-0 seed beads, a 4mm bicone crystal, and then 4 11-0 seed beads. And I'm just coming out of this crystal here. I'm going to go directly into the next crystal, like this, on the next unit, just like that. And I'm just going to leave that there, and then I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to pick up 4 of my 11-0 seed beads, and then a 4mm bicone crystal, 3 11-0 seed beads, and then a 6mm bicone crystal, and then 3 11-0 seed beads, and a 4mm bicone crystal, and then 4 of my 11-0 seed beads. 3, 4. And then again, I'm going to slide from this crystal to this one. And we're going to do this exact same thing till we get to the last unit. And we'll be back. Okay, so I finished putting my embellishment on. I came through this little 4mm bicone crystal after connecting my last one. Then I just sewed through all the beads in the unit until I came out of my 4mm bicone crystal on the edge here. Then I picked up 27 seed beads. Now this is going to depend upon the size of your button that you're using. My button, this will work just fine. I picked up 27, and I am coming out of this side of my bicone crystal. I'm going to go into the opposite side. I'm going to pull these down, and then I'm going to sew back up through all of these beads and through my bicone crystal, and back through all of these beads and through my bicone crystal until this is nice and secure, and then I will be back. I have secured my little seed beads here for my clasping, and now I am going to sew through all of my beads up to the top here, and then we will begin the same embellishment on the other side of the bracelet that we started with. Now, we may need to extend our fire line to finish the bracelet, but I'm not sure about that yet. But we're going to go ahead and go all the way up all these beads. Okay then. Come through this one, and then through this one, and we will start again picking up our series of seed beads. Now remember, it's 4, and then a bicone crystal, a small one, and then 3, and a 6mm bicone crystal, and then, oh, come here, crystal, and then 3 more 11-0s, and then a 4mm bicone, and then 3 more 11-0 seed beads. And then we're going to slide from this crystal to this crystal, like this. Go ahead and do that all the way down the side of the bracelet again, and we'll be back. Okay, so what I have done is finish the entire side of my little first embellishment. Now, we need to sew all the way back up the side, go through the bicone crystal where your button is, go back down the other side, and exit here, and we will be back. So I have sewn from this bicone crystal all the way up through the bicone crystal my button is attached to, all the way down until I'm in the opposite bicone crystal on the opposite arm here. So Now I went ahead and extended my fire line here. I tried to make the knot very small, but of course it didn't get real small because I was trying so hard. So that I can go up through my beads again. Now, when you start your last unit, you may want to put 2 wingspans on instead of 1, just if you don't want to have to worry about extending your fire line when you get to this point, because you will have to if you don't. Now I've extended it. I'm coming out of this bicone crystal. I am going to go up through these 4 seed beads here. And I'm going to see if I can pull my extension through without beating up my beadwork too much here. So let's see. Yeah, it went right through, so we did good. Okay, so you're going to come up through these 4 beads through this bicone here, and then up through the next 4, or the next 3 little 11-0 seed beads, and then exit the 6mm bicone crystal right here. And then you're going to pick up a bicone, a 6mm bicone, and I'm going to turn my work just so that I can get to it better. I'm going to get you a little closer in here. I am exiting the 6mm bicone crystal. I picked up a bicone crystal. I'm going to go into the bicone crystal in the joint on my bracelet right here and exit and pull this bicone down just like this. And then I am going to pick up another 6mm bicone crystal. I'm coming out of this one. I'm going to go into this one on my embellishment here and pull it down. And now I'm going to sew back around this little joint I just made here. So I'm going to go here. And then I'm going to go here. Back through here. Back down through here. Just making sure everything is tight and pretty, secure. These are crystals, so you always want to double your fire line through it, double or triple it even, because crystals can cut even fire line, though it's strong. Okay, then I'm going to come back up into the bicone on my bracelet here. And then I'm going to sew and back up just a tiny bit. I want you to see what I'm doing, but I want to stay in frame too. I'm coming out of this bicone right here. I'm going to go into the little 4mm bicone in my bracelet on my bottom of my unit here, or of my component. And then I'm going to turn my bracelet again so I can get to it. And then I'm going to come down the 6mm bicone on this side, and I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a 6mm bicone crystal. I'm coming out of this crystal. I'm going to go into the crystal on my embellishment. And then I'm going to pick up another 6mm. And I'm coming out here. I'm going to go into the bicone on my bracelet again, on my actual units, like this. And now I'm going to sew through all of those. So, just like this. And then through here. And then through here. Back into this one. Now I'm going to sew into my 4mm bicone crystal. And I have to get to my next section here. But if I just come this way, then I will have to cross my thread path, or take it out through this crystal and go into my little seed beads, and I'll have an extra thread there and it'll bind everything up. So I can't do that. So I'm coming back through this one. I'm going to come back through this one. I'm going to come back through this one just so that my needle is going the right direction so I can sew over to my next 6mm bicone crystal. Let me get back in frame here. I hope you could see everything I was doing. Let me get closer. So basically I just came out over here. I'm sewing back up through this unit just to make sure that as I come out of one of these crystals, my needle is pointed towards the bottom part of my bracelet so I can keep moving down. So I'm going to come through this crystal here. I need to move all the way down my bracelet again. So I'm coming through the crystal. I'm going to come through the 11 of seed beads and the little 4mm bicone crystal. And then I'm just going to work my way down this entire embellishment until I get all the way to my next 6mm bicone crystal. So I'm going to try to get back in here. It's better if you just kind of keep your needle in there and go as far as you can. It's easier. But I'm going to exit where you have to and go back in. And go back into here again and sew up. Make sure you don't miss any of your 11 O's, because if you do, you're going to bunch up your embellishment and it's not going to look right. Now I'm all the way to my bicone and I'm just going to exit it. Back off a little. Right here. And I'm going to start my next embellishment, or joining this together here. So I'm coming out of this 6mm bicone crystal. I'm going to pick up a 6mm bicone crystal. I'm going to go into the one on my unit, pull it together, pick up another one, go into the one in my embellishment, right here, pull it together, and then sew all the way around and secure it. Like this. Back up through the top. I'm just going to make sure I have it all together really nice and tightly and securely, and then I'm going to move down to the other side. So now I'm going to come down through this crystal here, and then I'm going to come down through this one. Then I will go through the little 4mm bicone crystal in my joint here between my units, components, whatever. If I can get in there. There we go. Go in there, pull my thread through, come back up through the 6mm bicone crystal, and then I'm going to join the bottom embellishment to it. So I will pick up my 6mm bicone crystal, coming out of this one. I will go into this one here, pull it tight. Then I will pick up another 6mm bicone crystal. I'm coming out of this one. I'm going to go into this one up here and pull it. And then I'm going to sew around the entire thing and secure it. So I'm going to move it just so I can get my hand to it and start sewing around the entire unit here. Oops, just the crystals. Okay, now I have to figure out, I've got them all nice and secure, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm coming out of this little bicone crystal right here. Let's get you close this time. Let's see if I can stay in frame and show you exactly how to move over to the next one. So I'm coming out here. I'm going to come up into the bicone crystal in my component, then the joining bicone crystal this way, like this, up this crystal here, and then into the top crystal, and then start sewing into your embellishment like this. Get as far as you can, sew all the way over to the next 6mm bicone crystal here, attach, bring yourself back around, move over to the next one and attach, and then we will tie off and we'll be done. Okay, so I went ahead and finished joining my little bicones together in the middle, and then I just sewed up into my last unit a little bit, sewed it. I came through this bicone and just came up through the outside again, tied off, went through some more, tied off, or made half-hitch knots, and then I cut my thread off and melted down the little bit of tail I had left. And this is what I came up with. It's pretty. I really like it. I'll show you what it looks like on my wrist. Looks like on my wrist. And actually, it's not all that big. It must be right around 7.5 inches, maybe not quite. But it has got some movement. It works out really well. It looks really nice. It feels comfortable. And it turned out really very pretty. I wish you could see the sparkle in person. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you next time. Be creative. Bye-bye.